I took a long break before finishing this piece. Come see how it came together and also hear about what platforms I've used in the past and why I love my current web provider, Art Storefronts. Okay, let's get started. Hello and welcome, fellow creative. Super happy to have you here with me today. I'm already getting started on this piece. Apparently, I forgot to turn on the recorder when I was doing my initial mark making, and right when I started putting down all that black paint, I realized that I probably didn't turn it on. So that's why we're kind of jumping right into this. And so let me quickly review. I do like to start with mark making, so using pencils and crayons and charcoal or whatever I have on hand just to loosen up, get my arms moving, and put down marks all over that first layer. And you can see a little bit of it peeking through. It looks like there's a little bit of green up in that upper left corner, and that's probably a water-soluble tool, which would probably be maybe a Derwent ink tense or something like that. And then I'm coming in with now another layer of colors in addition to that black. So the black, I like to put down a lot of black because I like black peeking through on my final layer. And in order for it to do that, I need to put down a lot of black so that I can just kind of pick and choose where I'm going to have that black peeking through. If I only put it down in just a couple of places, then I'm going to be kind of limiting myself to being able to work around just having black in those areas, if that makes sense. So here I am going with, looks like I'm trying to empty out a jar of paint that's probably close to the end there. And I am using some warm colors. So I like to use warm colors and then cool colors or vice versa. Sometimes cool colors first and then warm colors. And the reason I like to do that is because it keeps my colors clean and it keeps them from prevents them from getting muddy. Because we know that when we cross a warm color and a cool color, that you will most likely end up with mud. So I like to try to keep those separate. Now, yellow will work on either one. So I can use yellow with either my warm colors or my cool colors. So for this first layer, I'm actually working on my cool colors. And when I say cool colors, I'm going to define it in a very simplistic way, which is just simply using blues, greens, purple, and yellow. So that's my very simplistic way of separating, identifying what I consider cool colors. In that spray bottle, I just had some water and got some drips going right away. And I'm mixing my colors as I go. So like I mentioned, I've got this jar in my hand that was pretty much empty, and I've been adding some color into it and kind of trying to mix up and use up what's left. And actually, I take that back. I don't think that is a jar. I think it's just one of my containers where I'm just mixing colors within the container. And sometimes I'll do that if I don't have enough room on my palette. So, and I can see I've got a ton of paints all over the place, and I don't see any space to actually put down some color on my palette. This was recorded clearly not in July right now. Today is July 19th, 2022. And it's way too warm to be wearing what I'm wearing in this video. This first part of this video was created in I believe it was early March 2022. So many months ago when it was a lot cooler. And for folks who have been following me recently, this is my old studio. So I haven't even moved into my new studio yet, which I ended up doing at the end, closer to the end of March. So I believe this was my last painting that I created in this studio. Here I've got, well, as I was chatting, I think I had changed out my brush a bit. Oh yes, it does look like I have my rigger or just some smaller brush. So I'm trying to make some smaller brush strokes. I think it's important to change out your brush as you go so that you have different sizes of shapes. And here I just added some water and I'm just splattering what's left in there. Okay, and we've come back, and I think I may have, I thought I just did this, but I'm not sure now. I'm still going at it here. All right, so clearly I am just putting down marks wherever I can. And for me, that this first layer is all about putting down as many marks as possible, because when I do that, then I've got a lot more choices later on in terms of what I want to keep and what I want to cover up. And you know what? I think I just duplicated a short segment of this video. Very interesting. Not sure how I did that. Ah, technology. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. Okay, so that little short segment was a duplicate. And here we go. All right, so this is a 36 by 48 inch, and it's 1.5 inches on the side. So here's my palette, and you can see these colors that I just lined up that I'm going to be using for this next layer. And I do tend to do a lot of double dipping. Aha, so before I even get into the paints, what I like to do is I like to come in with mark making again. So although I didn't show you the very beginning process, this is pretty much what it looks like. I've got a bunch of different pencils and crayons that I'm using, and I'm just putting down some marks here. And I like to do this when my layer is dry because it adds, I already covered up a lot of those initial mark making, and so bits and pieces of this now will probably show up in that final layer. But a lot of it actually does end up getting covered up. It's just simply part of my process. So that first layer, I didn't really get down a whole lot of variety of different greens and blues like I normally would. And I'm coming in here with my warm colors. So for me, warm colors, again, I'm going to define it very simplistically. And that is, for me, warm colors are your reds, your oranges, pinks, and again, adding yellow in there. And you'll see I'm going to end up using pretty much all those colors here. Here I'm just kind of like scribbling all over, offloading my brush, introducing some very marks that are much more organic, not so intentional. And I like having that variety in my artwork. I don't always remember to do that, but I do like to have some marks in there that are just kind of crazy and messy. Now here I've added some white to whatever color that was. I feel like I've already got somewhat of a neutral happening there. I think I'm going to do drips. Yep, there we go. And I'm doing some more drips. I guess I was in a very drippy mood. So drips with either the spray bottle, or you can certainly just use a big brush and get that nice and wet. Just press down on the canvas or paper, whatever you're using. I love that orangey color. Orange with a bit of red in it. All right, hit some of that with the dryer so that I'm not making a whole lot of mud, because I did have some gray going on over there. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Happy to have you here. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell so that you are notified when I release another video. And I've been releasing them about every 2 weeks. And actually, last week, I released one in the middle. So, not my every 2 weeks. What I did last week was something a little bit different. I released a video that was a vlog, so VLOG vlog, which is a video uh, representation of my day, or video blog, I guess, in video format, not in written format. And it took you through a day at the studio with me, everything from coming into the studio, I show you around, give you behind the scenes, look at my space, things that I'm working on, and also, I work on a piece that is close to done but needed some more work. And I do that in real time. So it's not sped up like we're watching right now. And there's no voiceover. I am talking to you as I'm creating that piece, and kind of like talking out loud what is going through my head when I am creating art. So if you are fascinated with stuff like that, you're going to want to check out my vlog. And I'm going to put a link for you here so that you can easily get to it. So I'm moving right along on this piece. I love that orangey color. Yummy. Too bad I cover that one up later. Oh well, somehow it didn't work with the rest of the piece, so I ended up having to cover it. But I certainly do love it here. Adding some larger elements to the piece. Now, these actually don't end up showing up at the very end, but I like to put them in so that I have options. Do I want to include them or do I not want to include them? I can choose to cover them up or I can choose to enhance them and bring them to be more of a focal point in the painting. If you've been following me for a while now, I just want to say a huge thank you to you. I so appreciate you being here, especially when you guys leave me comments. I love when I get comments and questions. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Now, this is a part where I do more filling in. So I'm kind of quieting down some areas because before it was very chaotic. Well, clearly it still is, right? It's still that crazy mess. But now this is the part where I start saving bits and pieces, but yet quieting down some areas that I don't want to show. Coming in with pretty much just white on the brush plus whatever else I had on there. So a lighter value. And usually, I want to say usually I don't work on my values until a little bit later, but here I started in on it a little bit early. Yep, covering up those drips. I still love doing drips, but it doesn't mean that I always want them to show up, especially this early in the process. The the paints that I'm using here are Nova color paints, and I usually talk about them in most of my videos. There's been a slight change to my what we call Betty's Bundle over on Nova Color, and that is that I discovered that there were two of my blue paint colors that I have in that bundle. So the bundle represents 15 paint colors that I love to use pretty much on a consistent basis. They're kind of my go-to colors. And because of supply chain management issues, and I'm sure you guys have heard about this, ever since the pandemic and we're getting back to normal, there's been a lot of supply chain issues of procuring product. And paint is part of that issue as well. Apparently, Nova has not been able to get certain paint colors to create their paint, to make their paints. And so I had to replace two of my favorite blue colors and swapped them out with two new favorite blue colors. I've used just about every single one of their blue colors. So it wasn't a big deal to swap it out for me, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up. Their website has been updated. I still need to update my website with the two new colors. So that's on my list of things to do. But still a great pack. And also what we've done is the original Betty's Bundle came in the 4-ounce jars, which are the smaller jars, great for travel size, and also great for trying out new colors. But I always use the 16-ounce or even larger, the 32-ounce. So the quart or the pint. And so we've added the 16-ounce as a Betty's Bundle on the website as well. So if you are looking for, if you've already tried the smaller ones, and you know that you like them, and you need to replenish, you may be interested in the Betty's Bundle that is the 16-ounce jars. So cool stuff there. And I've got a link down below to get to my favorite Nova color paints. And if you can't find the link underneath this video, no worries. You can just leave me a message and I'm happy to send you that link directly. So here I came in with a little bit of mark making, even though some of that paint was wet. And I will do that sometimes. So as I was chatting, I was creating all of these different marks. I continued to make marks. So I make an area that's a bit more quieter and solid, but then I come back in with some mark making right over that area as well. And the reason I do that is because it doesn't necessarily mean because I filled it in and I quieted it down, it doesn't mean that I'm done with that. I actually might be adding another layer or so. Now here it's interesting that I'm coming in, I've been working with warm colors and now I have switched over to my cool colors again. And that could be because I was feeling like I've got enough of my warm colors down and I'm gonna swap it out now and switch back to the cool colors. I like that green, kind of a bright, happy green. I've got a stool down below so I can see the very top of my canvas. I like to paint all the edges, so top, bottom, and sides, so that you can view that canvas from any side and continue seeing that painting around the corner, around the edges of it. Okay, I like that green too. Can you tell I love all colors of all colors of green, all colors of reds and pinks, and I just love all color. And just watching this video again, it's just making me happy to see those colors. As I mentioned, so here I am in my old studio and I moved to a new studio, and you'll see when we get towards the end of this video that I actually finished this painting in my new studio, and I just did that like last week. So like I said, it's July 19th, 2022, and I finally got around to finishing it last week. It was like 95% done when I left it at this studio here. And then with the move happening and just getting settled in, I kept looking at it, knowing that I wanted to finish it, but didn't get around to it. Here I'm using a palette knife. So introducing paint on my canvas in a different way is going to add some more interest as opposed to doing everything with a brush stroke. And spraying it down too. Get those lovely drips going. And for me, drips is something that you don't control. It's more organic, and that's why I like to do that. Now, lately I've had a number of emails and messages on Instagram and Facebook about the website that I use for my art. And I don't know, maybe it's just that time of year people are thinking about it, or summertime, kids are, not in school and doing other things. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I've been getting a lot of messages lately, and so I thought I'd talk about it here. My website, I am using Art Storefronts, and I've been using them since 2017. It's one of those, prior to Art Storefronts, I started off on Etsy way, way back, and then I upgraded to a platform called Artspan. So ARTSPAN, artspan.com. And there's a link on that page for artists to create a page, to create a website. And I spent a few years on that platform, which was great because it was super easy to put together. And a few months before I left them, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 months before I left them, they added the print on demand option. So that was fantastic because then people can order my prints and I didn't have to worry about how I'm going to get a print made up and how am I going to ship it to them. They do all of that. So if you're looking for, a simple website, and it was very affordable. I think it was like $30 a month, 35 a month, something like that. Very affordable. Checkout cart included, all that good stuff. Now, I don't know if that pricing is still valid today because that was, back in 2017. So anyway, you can check them out. And then what I did was from there, I was selling my art a lot more consistently. And so I was ready to make a big change in my website, and I really wanted to upgrade. And that's when I went to Art Storefronts. And I heard about them, I checked out their information. I, did a phone call with them, and I just felt like it was really time for me to, get serious about my website, but also to have all the bells and whistles. And that's what I was looking for. Now, in addition to that, what I loved about them was their ability to teach me how to market my art, teach me how to market my art. And so that's another one of those things that really drew me to them. They have grown so much over the years because when I joined them in 2017, there wasn't a ton of, there was marketing and there were a lot of videos and how to, and the Facebook group was there, and that group is fantastic because you can get lots of great ideas and questions answered. But I want to say, compared to what they do today, which is so much marketing and teaching you, and it's truly 24/7 nonstop marketing, and it's ongoing. You can learn about just about anything, whether you want to be on Instagram or Facebook or both of them, if you want to do ads, if you want to just do sell your art directly to people in terms of doing live shows. They tell you step by step how to do that. And I think that's what really sets them aside from all the other platforms that are out there, because there's a lot of them and you can put your website on any platform. But here's the thing, just because you build it, they will not come. And I learned that a long time ago. And I think a lot of people believe that, if you create a website, that it's suddenly going to generate people coming to your website. It simply doesn't work that way. You've got to, you need to learn some SEO, which is search engine optimization. Uh, and Art Storefronts does that. But really, what it comes down to is you are marketing yourself and your art at the same time. People want to learn more about you. They want to get to know you. They want to trust you, and then they will buy from you. And this is so especially true in this day and age of social media, where it is easy to get to know somebody and never meet them in person, but yet feel that connection with them because that person is putting themselves out there, they're sharing their lives, they're sharing their art, they're sharing their passions, and it's it's just an easy it's an easy way to get yourself out there. But now I hesitate when I say easy because it's hard. There's nothing easy about getting in front of a camera or even behind a camera and talking and showing yourself, you are very vulnerable. And when you're just getting started, man, that is really hard to do. And so it takes practice. It takes stepping outside of your comfort zone. It takes practice, practice, practice. Just like creating art, marketing yourself is all about practicing and getting out there and trying different things and seeing what you like and seeing what works and seeing what people gravitate towards. And so, again, art storefronts, you can get a platform, a web platform anywhere, but Art Storefronts teaches you all of the marketing. And I get emails every day of live sessions that are happening every single day, either for new people or for people who have been around for a while or for new marketing ideas and how to implement them. And so their focus is all about you being successful, because if you're successful, they're successful. And that's what it really comes down to. So they want to do, they want to give you the tools to be successful as an artist. And that's what, their platform is all about: artists, whether they're photographers or visual artists, that's their focus. And so you're not going to find on there, oh, I don't know, like a mom and pop shop that's trying to sell their products. That's not who they cater to. They're very specific to catering to artists. Anyway, if you are interested, I'm going to leave a link down below. And again, as I mentioned before, if you can't find my links, no worries, just leave me a message below this video and let me know that you're interested, and I will send you the link and you can get more information. Okay, so as I was chatting, wow, got a lot done, right? A lot more filling in, mark making, like I'm doing right there. That's what I call my mark making. So I'm doing a variety. And I sometimes I wipe it down if I feel like it's too bold and too strong. So I'll wipe it down a little bit. I had a different size brush in there. So it wasn't a large brush, it was a smaller brush. Okay, so I am back. This is another day. And that day I didn't have my camcorder with me. So we're actually watching this. I recorded it from my cell phone. So that's why the coloring is a little bit different, but it's the same artwork. So I'm coming in with mark making here, but I'm not overdoing it. I'm picking, like there, I've got a pencil in my hand. I'm picking lighter colors, not something too bold. And I didn't do a whole lot of it, just a little bit of it. Because at this point, I know that I'm kind of coming to the home stretch. And so I don't want to come in there with some really big, bold marks that I'm not going to like. I already took down the pictures that I had over on the right side. I don't know if you saw those, my artwork hanging on the right. I may have already started taking down things in my studio in preparation for my move. But clearly all the paints are still there and all the brushes are still there. So I was still good to go on my painting. At this point, I'm coming in and I'm trying to figure out how to pull this piece together. Like I've got that large circle down there, which, can you see? I'm starting to cover it up. That wasn't working. It just didn't go with the rest of the piece. So that's going to get covered up. And I like to slowly cover that up. I'm not going to come in and just, put a circle around the circle. I want to make it disappear. So I make some kind of marks around it, or I do a little filling in, or I stand in front of it so you can't see what I'm doing. I guess that angle isn't so good. Sometimes I feel like the side angle is too much of a side angle, but it's often better because then I'm not quite standing right in front of the camera. Ideally, it would be cool to be able to mount a camera up on the ceiling, right? And point it downwards. Someday I'll try to figure out something. All right, more filling in going on. There is still quite a bit of chaos happening here, so I will come in and quiet it down a little bit more. I like to whack the side of my jars when they get stuck. I know people have lots of ideas of how to keep your jars from sticking. Like one of them is to put Vaseline on the lid, which I have no patience to open up all my lids and put Vaseline on them. Another thing I saw was somebody puts saran plastic over the opening and then puts the lid on, and that keeps it from sticking. Again, I don't have the patience for that. I like to just grab and go. And I'm trying to think, oh, another idea is to put under hot water. But unfortunately, excuse me, in this studio, I'd have to go down the hallway and wait a while for me to get hot water. So again, that's not going to work for me. And in my new studio, I do have a sink. However, it does take a long time to get the hot water going. Here I brought back those circles, but I made them a lot more smaller, so a bit more proportionate to everything else that's happening. So there are many different ways to, I guess, keep the jars from sticking, but unfortunately, or fortunately, I just love whacking it with the side of that tool, which is a scraper, a painter's scraper, like a house painter, and that seems to work the best for me. Quick and easy. I just whack it a few times and it easily opens. So here I'm bringing in some darker colors. You've got that dark gray going on, and there we go, some more darker. So I felt like there were some, I needed more values, so some darker values in there. Even though bits and pieces, you can see a little bit of black showing through here and there, but it wasn't enough for me. So I decided to bring more of it in. This whole painting process for me is kind of this back and forth. It's a dance of, adding something, taking something out, covering something up, bringing something back in. And I just keep going back and forth with it. During this session, I will go back and forth, speaking of back and forth between warm colors and cool colors. Now, this painting is mostly warm colors with the pops of cool colors. And sometimes I'll do the opposite, where I'll have a painting that is mostly cool colors with pops of warm colors. I'm looking at the back of my shirt. I'm not sure what is back there. I don't know if I'm wearing something that's kind of bulky back there. It looks kind of strange from here. Or maybe I hung it up the wrong way or something. Got a bulge on my back. I like that coral color I just put down. And I'm looking at the final painting on my phone. I don't think that coral color shows up at the very end. Again, it's going back and forth. Each color is going to inform the next color that I put down, and each mark will inform the next mark, and it'll go back and forth in that regard as well. I certainly do like those warm colors. Bright and happy. Sometimes I'll flip through some of my older pieces to get some inspiration. And I know that I think at the time that I was wanting to create this one, there were some paintings that I had done with a lot of reds and yellows and oranges in it. And I wanted to do something similar, which of course I can never do something exactly similar, but it kind of inspired me to at least work with those colors. When I'm feeling stuck, oftentimes I will look back at my older paintings, like in the previous section of this video where I had those pieces up on the right side. They're up there because when I get stuck, I can look at those and say, okay, well, what was I doing in that one that I liked? Was it the colors? Was it the mark making? So it just helps me to be able to move forward in a painting when I'm feeling stuck. And yes, even I get stuck in paintings. As many times as I've created them, I still get stuck. There are times where I'm just not sure, what my next step should be, how to resolve it. And so I like having the ability to look back at some of my other pieces for inspiration. And I'm nodding my head there because I'm just not, I got stuck and I'm not really sure where to go with it. There's still a lot of stuff going on. And, the end piece does have a lot going on, but there's still some calmness about it. At this stage of the painting, I especially love, even though I shake my head many times, I still love the problem solving that I have to do to get this piece to come together. And that's really the way I view it is just that, how do I solve problems that I'm seeing? And I know maybe that kind of sounds negative, but it's really not a negative. It's for me, it's a lot of fun trying to figure that out. And it probably ties into the fact that in my life in general, I'm a problem solver. So if there's an issue, my first thought is, okay, how do we fix that? What should we do? What are the options? Where can we go from here? What can I research? What can I learn about to help solve this problem? And I apply all of that to my art making as well. So sometimes I like to get those drips going, but I will sometimes come in with a towel to clean that up a bit, or with a rag and clean it up a little bit. So I'm bringing back those yellow marks that I made early on. They weren't very noticeable. And I do like this yellow is kind of I'm mixing two colors together. I believe I was mixing cadmium yellow and Indian yellow to make that yellow, which to me this it really stands out quite a bit, but I like it. It's like right on the verge of being jarring to me. And I like it when my painting isn't entirely like cohesive and happy, but that there's something like slightly off about it. I'm not sure how to explain that, but and like that didn't work. Did you see me nod my head right away? It's like, nope, that's not working. Too dark. So here I decided to spray it down and I'm just going to clean it up. It's still very wet, and March being a cold month, it certainly wasn't going to dry very fast. So I have to do that several times because that black just kind of grays out my colors underneath and makes them dull. So I wanted to clean it up really well. So I'm stepping back here, viewing it from a distance, coming back in. But going back to what I was saying, I like to have a little something in my painting that's just a little off, I guess. Someone once told me there's a word for that, and now I don't remember what it is. All right, we are in my new studio. Can you tell? Look at that semi-clean plastic I've got going there. And also my hooks in not hooks, but the screws in my wall are a little bit lower than I had in the other studio because my arm would actually get tired when I'm constantly raising it really, up really high. So here I am finishing this piece up. Like I said, it was really like 95% there. There were some things I kept staring at it for months, and there were just a few things that I wanted to address. And I wish I could show you what that is right there, but kind of in the way, right? I think I came in with some dots in that area where the white was. So dots, just taking my brush and just twisting it, pressing and twisting it. Now in this last part, I'm not drastically changing the painting. I'm trying to enhance it. And I really wasn't planning to do a whole lot, but I ended up doing a little bit more than I originally, set out. At first I said to myself, oh, I'm just going to change, a little here, a little there. But then once I get the paints out and the colors out, I end up adding more and adding some more layers, which all worked out. It was all good. Sometimes I just like to go right back over some of my colors and deepen those colors a bit more. Deepen, what I mean by that is add that more layered look to it. So like that green I just put down, I didn't go all the way to the edges so you can see the previous green that was there. Here coming in with a much lighter value. But I decided that pink area, I had a huge pink area and it was like too much. So I'm covering up a portion of that pink area, but not the entire thing. So that way it kind of chops it up a bit so that it's not a big section, because it looks like the gray section next to it. It looks like the other pink section over towards the left. It looks like the big white section up in the corner. So I wanted to chop up that pink area. And when I'm standing up close to it like this, there are some areas that I noticed could use one more layer, again, just to deepen it a bit more. I wasn't crazy about those circles there, so I'm kind of pushing them back a bit. They do end up staying, but by covering a little bit of it, it wasn't quite floating on top. Now I've got my black, and I really hate doing black at the very end, but I'm being careful not to make it look like it's floating on top. I prefer when it looks like it's, you know, further in the background. Now here, I'm taking some of those darker areas, and although I have black in my hand, I added some white to it, and I'm making a deeper gray. And I seem to have started doing this more and more in my paintings. So a little bit of that black is still showing, but I'm covering up some of it with a really deep dark gray, I should say, but a not, not really a pure black. So coming over that section that's giving me trouble and lightening it up a little bit, not quite as dark of a gray. Since I just finished this painting and sometimes I like to think of a title for my paintings, especially when I'm at the end of it. And sometimes it comes to me quickly and easily, and other times, well, nothing. So I did post this one on social media this morning, asking folks if they've got any suggestions for a title. So I'm sure that at the time that I post this video, which will be in a couple of days, I probably still haven't picked a title. So if you have any title ideas, I would love to hear them. Just put them down in the comment below. I usually keep a list of all of my, I shouldn't say usually, I do keep a list of all of my title ideas on my phone in a notes area. And when I was scrolling through it, none of them were resonating with me for this particular painting. Coming back in with even a lighter value or a white, just I think it's mostly just pure white now. Sometimes I'll start off with a light value that has some color in it, and then I'll slowly work towards making it even lighter as we go. I decided that I didn't like the white going up into that other area. I wanted to keep it more in the center there. So I covered that up with a gray. This is where, I'm looking for little things that are bugging me more so than, the areas that I love, I don't touch them, but I'm focused on, what's bothering me? What do I feel like isn't working in this painting? And those are the areas that I tackle. All right, I think we're calling it done. So came back and interestingly enough, I must not have had my memory card for my camcorder again. So I'm doing this on my camera, but I forgot to put it in landscape mode. It's in portrait mode. And I'm doing my final mark making here. So this final mark making is not that scribbling all over the place, although I do some scribbles, but they're more controlled scribbles in areas that I want them to be noticeable, but not really standing out. Like I'm doing right there, I'm doing that with a lighter color, and I'm coming in and erasing a little bit of it back. And then making, like dots and circles and lines, a variety of different marks that are a bit more subtle. So it's one of those things that when you walk up to the painting, you're going to get that extra little treat of seeing these marks on there. But from a distance, I am not altering the overall composition or look of the painting. I must be looking for something specific. I'm looking for crayons there. You can tell it's my basket of crayons or my little Tupperware container of crayons. Because I'm using water-soluble marks on here, I am going to be using a fixative spray first before I put on a final coat or a final 2 coats of varnish. And I will link for you here my video on varnishing art on paper that is also not only just for, it's not just my process on paper, but I do the same thing for canvas and for wood pieces as well. Lots of scribbling going on. I love making those final marks on there. And of course, I'm erasing back a little bit of it. Now, the great thing about making all of these marks is if I'm not happy with it, I can come in with an eraser and erase it, no matter what it is, whether it's a crayon or a pencil or what else do I have? You know, different China marker also. I can come in and erase that if I want, or I should say if I don't want it in there. All right, I think we're just about done here. Probably going to be getting ready to sign it in a moment. I like to sign in pencil. The main reason for that is years ago, every time I went to sign, it seemed to be crooked. For some reason, I just couldn't get my signature to go straight across. And so I started signing in pencil so that it would be easy for me to erase, and then I can just sign it again instead of having to paint over it and start all over. I'm still adding a little bit more. Rubbing some of it out just to soften it up a bit. All right, now I've got my pencil in hand. This part is a lot harder. I just set it, I've got um, a little bench down there. Okay, so it is signed and done. And I didn't get close-up video of this, but I do have some pictures. So there it is, the completed piece. And I've got a few close-ups for you. And you can really see some of those scribbles there and some mark making. There's the side view, the way I like to paint all the way around the sides. Another close-up, you can certainly see my scribbles here that I did at the very end. And one more side view. I like those yellow marks up there. And there's the whole piece there. And there I am, super happy with it. Another one completed. A big thank you to Charlotte, Pam, Deb, Faye, Lulabelle, and Flick. I so appreciate you clicking on the thanks button and contributing to my videos. I want to thank you so much for being here today, for joining me, and I hope that you will subscribe and check out some more videos here. All right, folks, wishing you a super fabulous and creative day. Take care.